So I think we can all breathe easy, because Berserk is officially back. Now, as we know, there was a chapter last month, and a bunch of Berserk fans told me in the comments, we will have to see how it goes this month to really see if we will have more Berserk chapters constantly throughout the next upcoming months. And from the looks of it, at the end of this chapter of Berserk, it seems like we are going to be having more Berserk coming, which we will finally get to see Guts get off that damn boat. So, I just want to take a brief few moments to discuss my happiness about actually seeing Berserk officially back on schedule for months on end, and also talk about probably the fan reactions to this. So, I bet all the diehard fans right now of Berserk that has read Berserk for years, I mean many years, longer than I have, are probably just jumping for joy and don't even know how to react to this news of Berserk now coming out 2 months in a row. 2 fucking months in a row it came out, and next month is already set to come out, because at the end of the chapter it says it's coming out in September. So, I'm willing to bet long-term fans of Berserk right now just can't even believe that it is finally back. And let's just all be happy to see that we might finally get to see Guts actually reach the island. I really want to see that. That is something I want to see so bad. And to see Guts at the end of this chapter, I mean, it wasn't present-day Guts, but it still was Guts in a new chapter. I couldn't contain my emotions. I really couldn't. Just to see Berserk coming out. I really cannot wait till the next volume comes out. Like, when, you know, the next volume of Berserk comes out, I'm definitely buying it. Regardless if it just comes out in Japan and we have to wait, like, 3 years for it to come in America, I'm buying that Japanese volume. I love Berserk too damn much, because this is too good. My hype is too much right now. So now that I've talked about the fan reactions, my reactions, just my thoughts of it being back. Now it's 2 months. Next month we're having another chapter. Let's talk about the chapter. So, Berserk this month. A little bit later than last month, to be honest. I mean, it is pretty much September almost, or it is kind of September at the time I'm reviewing this, but it came out the day before September, and it's a little bit later than normal, but I mean, I think we can all understand we rather wait a couple weeks and wait like entire 2-3 years for a new chapter. I think we can all agree that. So, a couple days to a couple weeks, that ain't that bad. It really isn't. I think we can all express and say that we can understand that type of wait. And Berserk, I think we all rather read some really good translations than some shitty quality translations where we don't really understand where the story is going, which is kind of why, even if the first translations came out very early, I'd kind of be iffy about really reviewing it until I got some really good translations, because Berserk is that type of series where you need quality translations to really understand what is going on. And that's kind of what this chapter is. I really like some of the dialogue, but that's kind of why Berserk shines so much. It's not just because of the artwork, it's because of the character interactions that really allow you to enjoy some of the situations. Like, this chapter was a very perfect example that just gives us new character traits to characters that I never saw coming. For instance, Raksha, oh my god. His character traits that were shown in this chapter, I didn't expect. He got demoralized because his mask got cut. Out of all the possible things that could have caused him not to continue to fight, it would be that. Like, I don't know how to feel about that when it comes to Roxas, because to see how he's so connected to his mask, and then he just walks off, it makes my impressions, I evaluate him much higher now, but also, he's such a quirky character compared to what I originally thought. He has so many mysteries about him, and especially after witnessing what he did in this chapter, many questions have been raised, especially with his body. His body is very unique and weird. I want to take a few moments to really talk about one specific panel that happened in this chapter, and I don't know how many might have noticed it or not, but I want to actually mention it just to let you all know. In the panel where you see Rakshasa, you know, get up, and you see, like, the face, like a face outlining of him, like his, I guess, human body, you don't see, like, any real features. Like, you can't really tell exactly 100% what his face looks like, but you could tell it had some form of human shape, and you can make kind of the outline of his face. And if you look closely above the 2 eye indents, you will see some form of third eye on his forehead. If you look closely, you will see some form of third eye. And it raises the question, like, is that really his original face, and what does he really look like? Because to see that, it brought a very interesting trait to his character with his mask, to the way he looked in this chapter, especially with that different form, like the shadowy form of when he was manipulating his body, and like how his head was here, and then all of a sudden when his mask got cut, his head appeared behind him. It just goes to show you he has a very weird body, because his body can, like, move like a shadow or smoke, kind of, the way his, like, head and body features just pop out. And it was definitely a unique way to look at his character I didn't expect to see, and to see how, in actually a sense, he was beating the shit out of the Bakuraki clan. He was, if you think about it. I mean, they were holding their own in some way. They did cut his mask, but if he was really getting serious, judging by how it was going, he most likely would have won, slightly, unless something unexpected happened, because the guy was just messing around. He got demoralized and just walked off. He wasn't even hurt. It's like someone spit on him, and he got, upset about that, and he's like, fuck this, I'm done, and just, like, he walks off. That's kind of what happened to him. His favorite toy or favorite mask just got cut in half, he got upset about it, and he just walked off. And he wasn't necessarily really serious. I mean, what if he would have been 100% serious? He might have killed them. And we do know there most likely is going to be another rematch in the next chapter or the chapter after that, because of the moon being out and him wanting to come back to strike out Rickert. So I wonder how that's going to go. I really do. But I don't know. I don't know. I want to leave that for later, for when the next couple chapters come out. Now, another character trait that shocked me was Salat's bodyguards behind him that were given the impression of orcs or ogres. And I never thought about it like that. I really never did. I never thought of those 2 characters like orcs or ogres. But seeing the reaction of, like, Luca in this, I'm like, yeah, they do look like ogres or orcs. I mean, the way they carry themselves, and the way they, everybody's freaking out when they saw them and they're running off and all that. Like, call the police, call the town police, we got orcs in the city. It was just funny to see that, because to see how their characters were being shown in this chapter, it's definitely a different outlook on them compared to what we have seen from the beginning of when they were introduced as assassins. Because, I mean, let's backtrack a little bit. When Guts first met them and he fought them, I mean, they were kind of like skilled assassins and warriors, and yes, they still are. But looking at them in this light with, this kind of happy life or talking mood with these other characters, it just shines a different light on them that we haven't seen, and allows us to see another side that I don't think any of us really expected to see. For instance, them kind of acting more human instead of just cold-blooded, thirsty assassins. I mean, the way, they were talking, like, the 2 people behind Salat were talking to each other, like, oh, I think you're the one that's the orc and ugly one and all that, and they're both talking to each other, and then they got thrown into the stable. It was just a very human reaction I didn't expect from those characters, because when I think of assassins and I think of them from earlier chapters with the Emperor, I don't picture that type of dialogue. So the way this went, the chapter definitely had some great ways to showcase these characters and give these characters a different side that none of us really saw coming. Now, we get a little bit of setup for where we're going to be venturing towards next, and I don't know if I'm the only one, but I got a lot of Guts vibes from this chapter. Like, Rickert is reminding me a lot of Guts in some ways. Like, he's not a carbon copy, and I think there's not really any characters in Berserk that are carbon copies of each other, but in terms of motives and the way it's kind of going and, like, going towards, it's very similar in a way how Rickert is going out and traveling to this hidden village of the Kushans, and he's going to be safe there. And he's going to give all the information he has to Sealot and, the Kushans about how Griffith really is. And that makes me say, like, I like how Rickert has become really important in these past couple chapters. I mean, he's always kind of been important, but to see how in these past chapters, ever since he slapped Griffith to even beforehand, right before, we got into the long hiatus of Berserk, to see how Rickert is able to actually carry himself in his own throughout these chapters and actually make it very interesting, once again shows the beauty of Berserk. You don't always need Guts on screen or panels to be able to have a beautiful story taking place, because Rickert has definitely moved up in a lot of great points in my eyes, because I I liked Rickert, but I never really thought of him as one of my favorites. But after witnessing what he did to Griffith, to how he's resisting him, and also what he's doing now, taking a journey upon himself to go to the Kushan's hidden village, it really allows me to respect him a lot more. And I'm glad that his character is getting developed in this way, just to see what he's going to do and what direction he's going to go for, because the main point of what you can get out of, I guess, this arc, besides, you know, eventual setup for everybody getting eaten alive by a mock eclipse, you have it to where Rickert is now truly understanding the type of person that Griffith is. Like, if you look at the main theme of this chapter behind the scenes, there was some dialogue that Rickert was repeating in his mind, and from the dialogue, he was saying, like, he's always been a perfectionist. He's always been a guy that goes around and tries to be a perfectionist, and he did shady things in the shadows. I mean, we saw what he did with Guts in the past, and if you think about it, it makes sense now. Rickert is starting to see what type of person Griffith really is and always has been, and now his eyes are starting to open up. He's starting to mature as a person and realize this person he's always idolized is not the best pretty picture on the wall that you've ever seen. And that's kind of how Rickert is starting to see him. He's starting to realize what Guts is really trying to talk about and why he said that. This type of character development I appreciate a lot from the mangaka Kentaro. And other things of the chapter, besides Rickert going on his journey, that reminds me a lot of Guts, to the Kushan and Salat and all them, you know, talking with Rickert, and they're gonna find out more about Griffith, to Luca being a very great character. This chapter was very solid, and I don't think any of us can really say this was a bad chapter. Very good chapter, got the point across. If I had to make my bets, most likely next month's chapter is going to be half about Rickert and their group leaving the town, and the other half most likely is going to be Raksha, you know, attacking Rickert and his party and trying to kill them. That's what I think next month's chapter is going to be about, but who knows? So we'll see how it goes next month when we get the next chapter, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.